Basements tend to be a hot spot for ghosties, and today we're visiting a saloon, a library, and the Conjuring House, which that's pretty much every spooky place ever. Question for you: have you ever been creeped out by a haunted basement before? Let me know in the comments, and let's talk about these ones. Located in Wallace, Idaho, the Jameson Saloon Inn, or the Jameson Inn Restaurant and Saloon, as apparently they're called on Facebook these days, is one of the most haunted places in all of Idaho. According to IdahoHauntedHouses.com, that's a real site, the saloon dates back to 1892, and there are reports of multiple spirits inhabiting the property, including one named Maggie, and another one named Ollie. Now, Maggie likes to give hugs, she likes to touch people on the shoulder, pat them on the back, very affectionate. According to another local news source, Maggie perished in a fire after attending a football game with her friends, and her spirit returned to the inn because it was the first place she felt at home, which is kinda sad. Now, Ollie, on the other hand, he's a bit of a prankster. He likes to mess with the lights, move things, even make weird noises. And while there are quite a few creepy stairways at the inn, none are creepier than the stairs leading to the basement. The question is, does an evil spirit loom down there? Sure looks like it. Like, when I was looking at pictures of this place, it looks like the part in a horror movie where every character should just turn around and book it out of there. Other occurrences here have included lights that go on and off by themselves, shadows, objects being moved, smells of perfume, and the sounds of a party happening late at night. When doing a bit more research into the property, one news outlet found one particular comment unsettling, as it appeared to be from a former employee. There is a very evil spirit in the basement, and he does not like you doing substances in the basement with your friends. Well, apparently this evil spirit wants to keep the basement up to date with DARE guidelines. Now, this supposed former employee also went on to say that they actually had a medium inspect the property, and the medium confirmed that this spirit was killed in a gambling brawl and then carried down to the tunnels. What happened next? We don't know, and I don't think I want to know. At the age of more than 110 years old, Willard Library is the oldest public library building in the state of Indiana. And yes, it has quite the haunted basement. According to reports from visitors, some of the most frequent encounters with the legendary Lady in Grey have occurred in the reading room, which is in the basement. Now, the first reported incident happened like 60 plus years ago to a library employee who trekked through the snowy night for his nightly duty. Since then, countless other employees and patrons have reported seeing this apparition, each giving an eerily similar description. The Grey Lady ghost, oh, I love mysterious ladies, was the first reported to have been seen in the late 1930s, though. Specifically 1937. A janitor claimed to have seen a ghostly veiled lady dressed in glowing gray standing before him while he was on duty. Now, he was more shocked when he was able to bend down and saw that even her shoes were gray. Now, before the janitor could recover from the frightening event, the lady went poof, she disappeared. Now, since that time, those looking and not looking for the apparition have reported unexplained events and sights. Now, unless my research is wrong, the Grey Lady was last reportedly sighted on August 10th of 2010 in the basement hallway by the assistant librarian. Psychics visiting the library in 2007 said they were able to verify that a ghost had been there, and that paranormal investigative groups, well, they brought in their equipment to look for it. But there has been, I think around that time, several library employees who reported seeing the ghost. Now, during a visit to the library, lecturers from the University of Southern Indiana say they saw the ghost peering into water. Now, policemen once upon a time, responding to a security alarm, spotted not one but two ghosts at the library. Now, a patron reported an encounter with the Grey Lady in the elevator, and a local weathercaster also reported an encounter with the spirit. Now, every year, hundreds of people look for the Grey Lady during October, during some ghost tours that are sponsored by the library. 800 curious individuals attended the first such tour in the late 1990s, and it's been a popular annual event ever since. Sign me up. Whisperings of old age terrors, the prowling of ghosts, and stories of strange occurrences have been passed down for generations, giving Klamath Falls a spooky edge, especially when the leaves start to turn and the chilly nights grow darker. Some of the more widely known spooky spots in the area include Linkville Playhouse, where the ghost of one of the theater's former actors is rumored to haunt the halls. Now, there's also the bizarre phenomenon at Gravity Hill, and the strange activity at the old Baldwin Hotel, which is now a museum. But none of those have haunted basements, so remember them for a future video. Today, we're talking about the old house on Pear Street. which honestly sounds like a movie title. Michael Gravett is a paranormal investigator and the founder of Paranormal Sightings, which is a team of local ghost hunters that provides free investigations to anybody who thinks they might have a disembodied spirit, or multiple spirits, living amongst them. One of his investigations has been at his cousin's place on Pear Street over in the Falls. Now, according to county tax records, the house was built in 1937, and while it has a beautiful charm in the morning light, it looks a teensy-weensy bit unsettling from the outside when the sun goes down. So the owner of the house, Christina Hansaker, has lived in the home with her husband Anthony and their 4 offspring for about 5 years, as of the time of the storytelling. Now, they bought the house from their pastor and his wife, and that's when they first learned about the paranormal activity. Christina said the pastor told her that he and his wife would constantly hear boots stomping up and down the stairs as if someone was in the house. And this kind of spooked her. And although she didn't experience anything strange in the beginning, she was like, "Hey, cuz, can you come just do a little safety check?" So Gravett and his team came to the house with their equipment. We're talking night vision cameras, digital recorders, walkie-talkies, heat signature rays. This is the thing that emits an electromagnetic field, then beeps if there's any disturbance. So everybody got to work hunting ghosts, creeping around the house in the dark with the devices. The team was asking, "Hey, if you're haunting here, could you just say hello? Make yourself known." And one of the recordings Gravett picked up that day was the sound of a weapon being fired in the basement. Another was of a man's voice, also coming from the basement. Now, one of the recordings that had been recovered, it was the guy down in the basement saying, "Get out of my house." Now, nobody knew what to make of this. Nobody knew, who could this be? We know this place is haunted, but we don't know who it could be. But then one day, a couple of months after the initial investigation, something weird happened. Christina recounted a stranger stopping by the house while she was having a yard sale. Now, the woman, who said she used to live in the house, came to tell her, this place is haunted. Christina said that she proceeded to tell her the history of the house, and it literally scared her out of her wits. The woman told her of strange nights when the family would be awoken by phantom knocks at the door. It was consistent knocking that would cause the entire family to get out of bed, walk down the stairs, and open the door, only to find darkness. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Don't worry, there is more. Now, what the strange woman told Christina was unsettling, but what scared her most was how the story coincided with the recordings from the basement. So as Christina was told the story, apparently 2 sons of the man who built the house in 1937 were living together in the house, possibly in the 50s or 60s. One of the men was a truck driver and was constantly on the road, and the other apparently went down into the basement one night and took his own life. Now, Gravett said, based on what he found, from the sound he got on the recording, it sounds like the butt of a weapon hit the floor and the barrel went into somebody's mouth. Now, once it all started to sink in, Christina began to accept the house might be haunted by the man who took his own life in the basement all those years ago. Christina said she spoke to the man. She told him, "I'm okay with you being in the house, but please leave my family alone. I just want to live in harmony. You can exist, I can exist. We can coexist." Well, time went on, more things began to happen. The family's dog would regularly bark at one particular corner of the house for no reason, which, drives you crazy. And in the hallway, whenever Christina would hang a picture on the wall, it would come right down. As if, somebody just didn't want it there. I'm just hoping her family finds peace soon. In a video posted to TikTok, Madison Heinzen took viewers on a tour of the basement in the old Arnold estate in Harrisville, Rhode Island. Now, this home was built in 1736 and sits on more than 8 acres of wooded property. Now, this estate was a site of tragedy and sorrow for 8 generations of the Arnold family before a new family, the Perrons, bought the home in 1970. And it was their decade-long stay that launched the home into paranormal infamy and inspired The Conjuring. Now, Heinzen's parents, Corey and Jennifer, purchased the house in 2019, and Heinzen went on to explain in her video that the home was actually a daycare in the 1980s, and parts of the center are still in the basement and scattered throughout the house. The most unnerving thing is a toy box, where daycare attendants drew a lady who appears to have a broken neck. Did anybody see the ghost of Bathsheba swinging in the tree? Now, not much is known about the daycare or how long it operated, but Heinzen says all the parents withdrew all their clients from the center on the same day. Probably because of all the paranormal activity around the property. And finally for today, hiding away in the basement of the Riverton Museum is perhaps the creepiest doll in all of Wyoming. Its appearance is so unsettling that even museum employees are visibly reluctant to touch or hold it. Now, this doll's name is Amelia. She's one of those old-fashioned oilcloth dolls with what is still a pretty pink dress. Part of it's her hair, I didn't know she had human hair before, and that makes it really creepy. He's also just not a fan of touching the dishwater white oilcloth skin. He's I don't know how to describe it. The arms and legs are a puffy gray mess and it's just disturbing. And what's even more disturbing is the doll's face. While her face paint is still clear, dirt has smudged her forehead with strange circular lines that look kind of occult-like. Also, her nose is fallen off, and it's just a dirt smudge, and also the mouth is ringed with dirt. Now, we do have a story. There was a museum worker years ago who was assembling the dolls in a crib. She had just started prepping this doll, putting it in its place, kind of had it folded up to work on the shawl. And as she was pulling the shawl on for Amelia, she just wanted to straighten it up, she heard someone upstairs in the museum, a young voice, having a screaming fit of some kind. Now the commotion just kept going and going, on and on, until the worker finally decided to go upstairs, see for herself what on earth was going on up here. Well, the minute she headed upstairs, the wailing and kicking and screaming just stopped. Everything went silent. So she got up the top of the stairs, she looked around the museum, looking for the family with the noisy but now silent human, but nobody was there. So she walked to the front office to ask, hey, what's with all the ruckus? And her coworkers were kind of confused by her question. They were like, it's been quiet up here. She was like, no, the screaming person, just a minute ago. And they're like, I'm not sure what you mean. No one's been in today. Eep. And that's it for me once again, folks. I've been Alexa, your resident ookie spooky girly. See y'all next time, you lovely spooky people.